This is the Blender's Table, where we sit down, light a bowl, and talk to the people who actually make the blends we smoke. Not the marketing, not the tin description, the real story. Why they blend, how they think, what they struggle with, and what makes a blend more than just good. If you've ever wondered what goes into creating something you pack into a pipe, you're in the right place. So, pack a bowl of your favorite blend, settle into your favorite chair, and join me as we sit at the Blender's Table. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blender's Table. So, as you guys are coming in, kind of give you guys another minute or so to hop in here. What are you guys smoking tonight? What are you putting in your pipe? Are you settling for a cigar? But more importantly, what are you pairing it with? Let us know in the comments. And as you're commenting, I want to first give a shout out to some very new subscribers, Hallie, Avery, Ellison, and Madison. Thank you all for joining us as well on the live stream. But we have, more importantly, the man, the myth, the legend. You may have heard of the Cajun Coffee, the Trinity Blend, and the Pope, or most recently, the Lafitte's Blend. So none other than WhoDat Pipe Works. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight?
And so you have to kind of give Patrick a little grace here today. He is currently going through what would you say, basically like a Cat 5 hurricane or something going on over there, something like that.
Of what's going to probably be some kind of tropical depression and/or storm forming in our area. So it's raining, thundering. The rain may get heavy and loud, but we'll make do.
So if his audio is kind of cutting in and out a little bit just from the storm. So if he does happen to cut out, you guys will just entertain me until he can come back in. I just want to give you a heads up. But yeah, as you guys are commenting here, we got a few Winchester Piper. Thank you for joining, Darren, James, Father Dempsey blend tonight. Very good, Darren. A nice blend. That is one of my first favorites. But yeah, so Patrick, tell me, WhoDat? How did that start? And WhoDat, growing up close in New Orleans, I know a Saints fan, so I've heard WhoDat before. But why that name, and how'd you get started?
Well, let's see. Let's go back to 2022, give or take. I got, probably about 2021. I got back into pipes. I had much younger, in my earlier 20s, I had decided I was going to try to smoke a pipe. And I did what every person does badly at the beginning. And I got like tongue bite from hell. I mean, it was horrible. Mm-hmm. The one that lasts like a week and a half. So I put that pipe away. I mean, I was smoking it like I was smoking a cigarette, just chugging. And I put it away. So in about 2021, I am getting ready to go on a duck hunting trip, and I decide, you know what? It's relaxing out there. We usually sit around a campfire and we drink, and I got my bottle of scotch that I'm going to bring with me. So I'm going to try something that I hadn't done in a while, and I went and bought me another corncob pipe. Got me a couple little blends from the little tobacco shop we have here, which he only had like 4 blends because he only sells like 3 pipes, and most of them are corn cobs. And I sat back down and I took my time, and that's when I noticed, okay, wait a minute, there's something to be said about this. If you take your time, it works a lot easier. And just progressively got more and more into in the smoking pipes. So about 2022, I decided I was going to try to make a pipe. By this point in time, I already had probably a good 50 to 60 pipes in my collection. So I bought one of those pre-drilled pipe kits and sat down with a Dremel and about 700 sheets of sandpaper and made a pipe. And one of my buddies said it was really cool and wanted to buy it. I sold it. I said, well, that's pretty cool. So I bought a couple more of those pre-drilled pipe kits and made a couple more. And I was like, hey, this would be a nice little side business because I got a few more years before I retire from the sheriff's office where I work. And maybe I could do this as a retirement gig. Not realizing you really don't make a whole lot of money off of pipes. It's more for the joy of it.
Right.
So I made a few more, and they're like, well, you should name your pipes and stuff. And I'm like, name my pipes? And they're like, no, like, what's your company name going to be? And I'm a Saints fan, New Orleans boy.
Okay.
I said, you know what? WhoDat Pipe Works. And I did a little research. Make sure I couldn't find anybody else that was using that name. So
Okay.
I'll go with it. Now, I did find some other pipe stuff that was using the fleur-de-lis, but that's pretty generic, so I don't think I get for that one. So I went with WhoDat Pipe Works. And I progressed from the pre-drilled stuff to buying blocks and drilling themselves, using a hand drill and trial and error. I've thrown away more blocks of briar than I should ever have done in life. I have wasted more money on briar blocks than pipes that I've made.
Wow.
I don't have a lathe. I don't have a drill press. I have a Dremel, hand drill, and sandpaper and some miscellaneous hand tools and stuff that I use. I did progress to getting a 3-inch sanding disc. So I will do a lot of shaping on the sanding disc. So that helps speed up my process a little bit. But I got to the point where I was like, I don't buy a whole lot of pipes anymore. Now I will. There's some guys that I'm leaning more toward getting pipes from friends I'm making. So, for example,
Okay.
JD Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to be getting me a pipe at some point in time. I know he's swamped with commissions and stuff like that, but he's promised to make me a pipe because I made him a pipe a while back, and I laser engraved a wolf on it for him and stuff. So, and it wasn't a fancy pipe. It was from a friend, and
Yeah.
then, I've got one from Tab Pipes. I've got a little bulldog from Tab Pipes. That man puts out some beautiful work. I'm not going to ever try to be at his level because he does some really cool stuff. And he gave me a few pointers over when I asked him questions and stuff. And so it's just I'm more trying to celebrate the other guys now.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, with the weather being in South Texas, rain one day, it's going to be 102 probably in 3 days with 99% humidity. I don't get a lot of chance to go outside and make pipes because I'm in a workshop. This is it. I sit here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little desk in front of me, and I go at it. I don't. It's when I get time. And unfortunately, I retired from the sheriff's office. I guess it's almost 2 years now, and I'm working at another company now and doing stuff. And I got an hour commute back and forth from that job, so it really eats into my time. And
Yeah.
I have a whole lot of time to make pipes. So if I have a one free day on a weekend, I will try to sit down and make a pipe. But blending is a little easier to do, so I can do that in batches or in pieces. When I get home from work and do it for about an hour or so. I'm not out here fighting mosquitoes and sweating
Right.
and things like that. So
Uh-huh.
I don't even know if I answered your question. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're good. Yep. No, that's just kind of how you got started. So that's awesome. Now, however, the pipe thing was awesome. It's how you got to start. Now, we will ask later on how you made that shift from making pipes to making tobacco, but we're going to save that question for later. So let's focus more on, kind of how you got that start when you shifted over from pipes to blends. And for those that are just joining as well, we actually got quite a few comments here. I'll catch up here. We had, so you said you had some Father Dempsey. How about Red Rappery? You ever had that one? It's a nice English aromatic.
No, I have not tried them. I will admit I have a deep cellar. It's not old, but I have a deep cellar.
Okay.
But there's still a whole bunch of stuff.
No, you're good.
I mean,
Uh,
there's way, and I actually, there's some stuff I got before, the Sutler fiasco.
yeah.
I'm still going to call that a fiasco, especially to the pipe community. Um, and there's some blends that I have that I haven't smoked, but I'm afraid to smoke.
Okay.
What if I really like it?
Right. Can't get any more. I get it. I get it.
That's a fear that I have.
uh, s- so we do have James smoking some Lafitte blend, which just came out here recently. And we're going to touch on this question again when we get towards the end, but just since Darren brought it up, he really wants to try your blends. So what's the best way for him to get his hands on one of your blends?
Okay, unfortunately, I don't have a website. I'm still too small fry to do this on a full time level. So normally, when I have a blend coming available, and I'll post several times about what I'm working on, what's coming up possibly. Right now, I'm in the planning, prepping,
Okay.
weird science stage of the next blend, sweet tea. Um, anyway, I get back to posting about when it's coming available, and sometimes I list them for pre-order, which means when the blend's actually ready to be shipped, I'll already have orders done. So when it's done and I've got it packaged up, it ships out usually the next day or the day after.
Okay.
Normally, when the blend comes available, I'll post it on Facebook. If you're interested in it, you shoot me a message on Messenger, and I'll walk you through the sales process,
Okay.
and we go from there.
Uh,
I wish I
all
could.
right.
I love, the guys over at Mad Hatters. The fact that they were able to get that site up and running and were able to do so much, especially for the pipe community guys.
Yeah.
Glad to call them friends because they're really fun to work with.
And so we got quite a few folks. Got Cheeky Amputee, so Yusuf coming in from I guess 345 here in the bush in Zimbabwe. So welcome. Got Captain Burley Slice. Let's see, Easy Piping. We got quite a few good guys in here. Got James Kopp has joined here. Howdy. So now we're going to dig into this first set of questions here, and those in the comments, just keep them coming. We'll stop after each little section before we go to the next one. We'll go back and check all the comments and catch up there. So Patrick, so when you kind of talked about your first piping experience and getting the corn cob, but were you a pipe smoker first, or did you try cigars first?
Non-political. I smoke cigarettes, so
Okay.
that's what I smoked first.
Well, what got you over to pipes then?
I went to cigars off and on.
Okay.
I would smoke a cigar off and on periodically. My dad would smoke. He was big on these little cherry cigars, and they're not even made anymore. I don't know what brand they were, but this was late '70s, early '80s, and he would smoke those periodically, and I thought they smelled really cool. So I tried, and I made the same mistake most people make when they start with that. Nice big inhale like you would a cigarette. So I stopped that for a little bit, picked it back once I learned some things, and I would smoke a cigar every so often. I would sit around with a bunch of friends, and have shooting the breeze and having a drink, smoke a cigar every so often. And like I said, I get back to that 2021 going hunting with my buddies, and I was like, I usually bring cigars, but let me bring something else. And that's when I bought the new cob and moved back into that.
So, they say every blender kind of has like a light bulb moment where you realize that you weren't just enjoying a blend, maybe you're trying to slowly analyze it. So what was there a specific blend that you tried that really made you realize, you know what? I can make this too.
I can't say there was a specific blend. I think it kind of happened over time. You know, I I have a whole lot of name brand blends,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll dip into them periodically. Right now I'm smoking Ken Byron's Great Escape. Good blend.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started finding people like Cloud Bear Custom Blends. Appalachian Customs, and when I could afford it, I would order from them. And I was impressed with the quality of the stuff that they were putting out. I mean, I felt some of it was really above what the major manufacturers were putting out. And I got, a chance to sit down and talk with Cloud Bear Custom Blends for a while, and he was really kind to help me understand some things, pointed me into some directions for researching and things like that. And it was at that moment that I realized, I could probably try this. And he was a good mentor to me. He really is, and I still consider him a friend today. He puts out some really good blends. When I first started having blends, I would send him, hey, try this, tell me what you think, and he would give me really honest feedback. There are a couple guys in the pipe community that I've sent stuff to, and honest feedback, and that's what I love, because my tastes are different than your tastes. We're different than the next person's tastes. So what I may get out of a blend is going to be different than what you're going to pick out of a blend, which is going to be different than what somebody else picks out of a blend. So even if I sit and try to decipher a blend on my own, I'm going to miss something. I've been real lucky that some of the guys have given me ideas for recipes, and some guys have just given me an idea. Not even Chris Murphy, for example, really cool guy. He gives me an idea, but he gives me kind of a basis of what maybe some of the core pieces should be of that blend. One of the guys that unfortunately just recently passed away, William Gallahan, he would give me an idea, but it would just be an idea. Hey, what about something like this? And when someone gives me an idea for a blend and I think it's going to work, and I experiment and do all my mad scientist things and get it to where I think it's a decent blend, I give them credit for it when I make it. Chris Murphy's Catahoula blend, his name right in the title. That was his idea. And we worked together, and I added a couple tweaks, and he said, "Yeah, run with it." And so we ran with it. There's a couple guys that have actually hit me up to make custom blends. I don't do it very often because it's a little time consuming, but custom blends, you tell me what you're looking for, and I'll try my darndest to get it as close to that as possible. I can't say that I'm stuck in a specific routine when it comes to this. I get like a weird idea and I just kind of run with it sometimes. Sometimes the name is what gets me first, and then I'll try to make something that'll fit that name. Sometimes the tobacco flavor idea hits me first, and then I'll try to think of a name to go with it. It's a weird process. I'm all over the place when I do this. I can't sit down and say, that we start with this and we go to this bit. No, and I'm all over the place.
Okay, so you're kind of like a free-for-all as far as the ideas. Sometimes the name, sometimes the blend come to you first. Just well, get inspired.
Freehand pipes, I'm pretty much freehanding tobacco.
Okay.
There's some rules that I kind of stick with. I mean, they're not. I don't think any rule is really concrete when it comes to this, because things can be, tweaked, and then you like even though you buy bright leaf Virginia and you get it from the same source from vendor, within the span of 2 months, you can get 2 different flavors of the Virginia. One could be more pronounced, more hay, more grassy kind of flavor. One could be more muted. They're both bright leaf Virginias. They both came from the same vendor, but I don't know where he's sourcing them from. So, that's the one downfall, and I should say wild card when it comes to making these. Now, if you're buying blending supplies from like C&D, where you're getting the prepackaged, cut stuff, That's good because usually that stuff's really consistent. And if I want to make sure something's consistent with a blend, I may use some of that. I try to go whole leaf as much as possible. Uh, it doesn't always work on my blends,
Sure.
where, but there's certain things that I can get whole leaf that I can't get prepackaged, like C&D. If I want to use an Indonesian cigar leaf, can't get that prepackaged from Cornell and Deal, so I'm going to have to order that and go that route. And again, I feel like I just went off on a tangent.
You're good. Well, so it brought up a question too. Talking about the bright Virginias. Some may taste this way, some may taste this way. So when you get those in, does that change the blend you were thinking of, or were you kind of, had the blend in mind, so we get some bright Virginias, I'll order those, or do you wait till they come in and go, okay, this tastes like that, maybe I'll go this direction? You ever pivot, or you just base off what you get?
It really depends on the type of blend that I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Um, what's cool about Bright Virginia is even if it's more grassy or more muted in flavor, it'll still work. Now, say Cajun coffee, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 3 types of leaf in Cajun coffee. I may make it same recipe a year from now, and it's not going to taste like what I made a year ago. I mean, fresh.
Right.
Aged, it may get to that point where it tastes the same. So that's one of the, like I said, the wild cards with doing tobacco. And you'll notice this even with Cornell and Deal. Their special releases. You get a thing of San Sepulcro from 3 years ago. You get it now, same recipe, but it may taste different than you remember it when you first got it 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's the nature of the beast because you never know what's going to happen. With farming techniques, with did they get enough rain? Did they get too much rain?
Right.
All the stuff that happens, rain, that farmers have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, the wild card.
So what was the first blend you ever made?
Um, that would have been Zydeco.
Zydeco. So what was the hardest thing then about that first blend? Was it the leaf? Was there a topping? Was it the moisture level? What was
Uh,
the hardest thing about getting that first blend right?
Zydeco had no topping. Zydeco
Okay.
is an English hybrid, is the best way I can describe it. And that one I made because I really wanted to embrace Rustica. I think that's a really underutilized leaf. And I know why, because it's got a strong nicotine content in it. So a lot of people have a tendency to veer away from the heavier nicotine blends. I don't. So I like them. But I wanted an English with some oomph. Something that would just make you go, ooh, wait a minute, what is this? And that one was the one that kind of getting the ratios right, I think, was the biggest part of it. If I went too heavy with the Rustica, it would have really just overpowered the entire thing. If I didn't put enough, then you wouldn't even have known it was there. Trying to get it to where it fit in that blend that's the hardest part for me is the ratios. Trying
Okay.
to figure out what amount I need to put in, say for a 3 pound blend, am I doing 8 ounces of this or am I doing 6 ounces of this? And if I do 8, what's that going to do to it? It doesn't seem like 2 extra ounces is going to do a lot, but when you start getting into things like Perique, an extra 2 ounces of Perique can really overpower a blend.
Right.
Or if you leave 2 ounces out, you'd be like, there's something, but it's just not there. That kind of thing.
So let me ask you this now. Then, when you're not smoking your blends, what's your go-to blend? Now, you got some Ken Byron, but it's the first time you've had that one. So what are some of your go-to things? What are you reaching for every day?
Uh, Honestly, most of the time, half and half.
Okay.
Granger, Five Brothers, um, the kind of codger blends.
Hmm.
Only reason for that is they have a tendency to, like a palate cleanser, I guess. You
Okay.
know what those blends are going to taste like. It's a consistent blend for the most part, and they're not that expensive. So it's easy to get a hold of those and smoke those. I don't smoke a pipe every day. I tried to smoke a pipe every day, but I don't always get to smoke a pipe every day.
I get it.
So every so often, I'll break out something that's been sitting for a little while, like this. This Ken Byron's. I've been sitting on this since April, and I just now opened it today.
Okay. So now, what are you going to pair? What do you pair it with? What's your typical go-to pairing then?
If I have the time to sit and enjoy it, I usually do a good Scotch, like a Johnny Walker Double Black,
Oh, good one.
regular Johnny Walker Black. If
See that?
not drinking, which is most of the time, I don't drink a whole lot. It's just whatever I have on hand. I'm a heavy coffee drinker, coffee and chicory drinker, so I drink a lot of coffee. Um, Today it's Mountain Dew Zero Baja Cabo Citrus. It was
Okay.
at the supermarket. That's why I have it. So,
Gotcha. All right. So that kind of ends our sort of our origin story here. So catch up on a couple comments. Um, let's see. What kind of flavors do you put into some WhoDat tobacco? Do you use any kind of toppings?
uh, yes, like I said, most of my blends, with the exception of praline blend, I consider
Okay.
well, not most, but when I make a flavored blend, I'm going to consider it a semi-aromatic, not a real true aromatic, because I do not like heavy, cloying aromatics. Don't get me wrong. When I started, that's what I started with. Those really pretty, fruity smelling, um,
Right.
just super value. What was it? Caramel or whatever it was. Um, Smelled really good. Tasted all right. Burned really fast. Burned really hot. But
Gotcha.
while I realized, that's a really kind of an artificial flavor, and I really wanted to stay away from that. So, like, I was when I was talking with Mad Hatters when they were getting started and stuff. I try to stay with natural things,
Hmm.
keep things. It's going to sound really egotistical, but keep things the way I want to smoke them. Um, so they're more of a lighter flavor. So you'll be able to you'll smell it on the tin note or bag note because I'm shipping tins, but you'll smell it on the bag note. You'll realize it's there. You'll get it kind of in the background, but it won't
Okay.
overpower everything else that's in the blend. Um, so I will use. Right now, I'm experimenting with citrus peels. So
Okay.
bear with me on this one.
All
And
right.
my most um, mad scientist blend yet, and it probably won't even come across that way when it comes out. But there's some things I'm trying to do a little different with this one. I'm experimenting with my own Cavendish, trying to make my own Cavendish. And with this batch that I just did, this is where I was adding some citrus peels and things like that to try to see how that's going to impart flavor upon it. So right now that Cavendish is resting for about 3 or 4 more days before I'll test it.
Okay. We got another comment here. So for the record, I have one of your pipes, and it's always in my rotation. Well made, reasonable price. He thinks you're a great all around guy.
Thank you.
Cajun coffee for the win. I second that. I did have me another bowl of Cajun coffee yesterday to prep, properly for the show, and it's still so good. It's got about a year of age on it. It's still so fantastic.
That honestly, that is my favorite blend. 3 ingredients, 3 different leaves. Um, Simple ratio on it for me to remember. The hardest part about that one is making the chicory coffee reduction to flavor it with.
Okay. Okay.
I think
Um,
it has a nice growth to it, mouthfeel.
mhm.
growth is probably the wrong word, but mouthfeel too, because you get a heavy smoke mouthfeel, you get a little sweetness, you get that almost kind of caramel flavor a little bit. At least I do when I smoke it. I'm not sure if anybody else does. So I think, by far, that's probably one of my favorite blends.
Okay.
Just because so far it's been really consistent with how it comes out every time.
Gotcha. And so we have another question here. This came up last week as well. If, or last time, there's if somebody doesn't have social media, is there a way they can still order your blends if they don't have a Facebook or Instagram
I
to get in
have
touch with you?
an email, uh,
Okay.
works at yahoo.com. Um,
Okay, so it's WhoDat Pipe Works at yahoo.com.
I check it semi regularly.
Okay.
Get a whole lot of email on there, so I don't really check it that often. But if I know that that's something that people are interested in, um, then I'll make sure to start checking it on a more regular basis.
Okay.
Thing is, I know they don't have Facebook and stuff, and that's going to be hard for them to find out if I have blends coming available, unless somebody tells them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. That's the only media platform that I'm putting them out on. I mean, I've got an Instagram page and I've got some other stuff. It's too much for me to keep up with all that, especially with what I have going on and everything else. So I just stick with Facebook, at least until they want to get rid of all of us.
Yeah, we know that's coming at some point. But yeah, so J Shapiro 34. Yeah, so if you got it, email WhoDatPipeworks at yahoo.com, and he'll get around to you. So send him an email. Maybe y'all can figure something out. Let's see, a couple of. Um, okay. Oh, yeah. I noticed you don't. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but again, that's one of those social. I started it, and at the time I had time to mess with it, and I don't really keep up with it too much anymore. It's
Okay.
still, it's just I don't really post much. There's some of my earlier pipe works there, but that's about it.
Okay. All right, so that wraps the comments for now. So digging into your blending process. Well, before we get started, do you have a favorite pipe that you always smoke with?
I do.
And do you have it close by?
I do.
Oh,
My
nice.
It's my Dunhill birth year pipe.
Oh, the dream of every pipe smoker, a birth year Dunhill. Very
And
nice.
I was lucky enough to find it. It wasn't in the best condition when I found it, and honestly, it's kind of oxidized on the stem a little bit. I need to go back and clean that. I haven't shown it the love I should, but life is life. So, but that is my favorite pipe, and that one took me probably about 2 years to find. At least find one available that I could afford.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there's
Dunhill makes nice pipes. Are they worth what they? I don't think they're worth what they say they're worth. But then again, I don't make my pipes to get rich, so I guess that's my problem.
fair enough. Fair enough. Um, and so you talked about how your first blend, or when you come up with an idea for a blend, it sort of just kind of comes to you. Sometimes a name, sometimes a blend type. But is there anything that you really sort of maybe narrow the focus down with, such as like what do you have a flavor idea that comes first, or is there a certain what leaf do I have? Maybe I can put some of these together, or order something new, or just here's the kind of mood I'm in. Here's what I feel like smoking. I'm going to go after this.
Yes. Um,
Okay.
like I said, I'm all over the place when I do these. I really am. Um, Sometimes it's just one of those little epiphany moments when I'm sitting there and I'm smoking, and I go, "Wait a minute! If I were to do this to this type of blend, what would I get?" And if I have enough component leaf to put together a little test batch, I will try it and see. Um, I don't keep a lot of component leaf on hand because South Texas humidity, even if I seal it right, sometimes stuff mildews and molds, and I don't. So I usually try to process it as soon as I get it.
Okay.
Sometimes just I have an idea of a flavor that I want to zero in on, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
research to see what's going to get me that best result or something
Okay.
as bad as I want.
And so when you kind of get the flavor, you kind of get an idea of what you're going to do, and you have all the blending components you want. How do you kind of start putting it together? Do you try some things, put them together, and go, no, I need more of this, more of that. I mean, how do you kind of get the leaves to kind of gather, and I guess we'll say start painting your picture, so to speak.
Normally, what I'm going to do if I'm going to get something that's topped with some type of flavor, I try to focus on that first.
Okay.
Because I think to me that's the hardest part of putting together a flavored blend. It's I want it to be noticeable, but I don't want it overpowering. I want it to complement the rest of the leaf and not just push it aside so that all you get is that flavor. So to me, getting getting that to the point where I think it's right for the blend is the hardest part.
Okay. So then once you get to, I mean, you got kind of get what you're going after. How do you know when it's done and it's like, all right, this is it. I have made it. I'm
Honestly,
putting it.
I don't think a blend could ever truly be done because you can tinker with it forever. But I get to a point where I think, okay, is this something that I would smoke as is? And if I answer that, okay, now is this something that I think other people would smoke as is? And like I said, a select few people sometimes get a sample to try it and give me their feedback. If they think it's at that point where, yeah, it's pretty much spot on where you want it to be, then it's done. Um, Now I may go back and revisit that blend and do some tinkering and go from there. And I have an idea in mind for a couple of my older blends that I might tinker with a little bit. But I try not to overthink them too much, and I think that's probably why I don't continue messing with them. If it gets to where I think the blend is where it's close to where I could get it or get it where I wanted without having to redo something or add a whole bunch of something else, then I think that's where it stops. Like I said, you can
Okay.
always tinker with a blend,
Right.
and you'll never stop. If that was the case, I'd never have anybody.
Right. Okay. So I got a few questions here I did not give you ahead of time. So rapid 5 questions about blending. So just kind of off the cuff here, what do you think? Virginia or Burley base?
Honestly, it depends on the blend. Um,
Okay.
some of my blends are Burley based, some are Virginia based, some are a pretty even combination of both. I like Virginias for the flavor that they impart, but I think sometimes they get overplayed and they can be a little too harsh.
Okay.
Burley, again, great medium, great for adding that smoky kind of mouthfeel to your blends. It's good for making the flavors kind of all the way move all the way through a blend. Um, but sometimes those blends, a straight burley blend or heavy burley blends, can be too much.
Yeah. Okay. Latakia or Latakia, however you want to say it. Is it essential or overrated?
It depends on the blend.
Okay.
I like Latakia or Latakia, however you want to pronounce it. I think that's a really cool blend. If you ever really want to try something that's going to make you go, "What the hell?" Smoke a bowl of that, just that, and you will realize, "Oh wow, this is something unique." Just like smoking a bowl of Perique, that'll wake you up.
I bet. So now, what would you say is the most underrated leaf?
I still think Rustica. I
Okay.
think plays a cool part in a lot of tobacco. I think you know, for me, it's also about celebrating an older leaf because it's not something that's been, I don't want to say genetically modified, but um, grown in such a way that you're getting what you want component wise. You know, if we plant this Virginia next to this Virginia, we're going to get a hybrid, and it's going to give us this and this, and so that's one thing I like about that is it's a very natural leaf, and it has some earthy qualities to it, but I still think it's pretty flavor neutral, so it works well with a lot of stuff.
Okay. What is your favorite leaf to work with? Is it rustica or some different?
I'm probably going to have to lean toward rustica only because well, I'm not going to say work with because it's a pain in the rear end to clean and prep for blends because rustica usually comes in drier than a lot of leaves.
Okay.
It's not the cleanest leaf I've ever worked with. So, cleaning, prepping, and all that stuff. So, favorite to work with, not on the prep end. Favorite to work
Okay.
with prep end, you give me a nice big old French burley leaf, and that's beautiful. Cut the midrib out, take a couple of little ribs out, and you're good. But,
Okay. Last one here. This is rapid fire 5. Here's what's the best pipe material and shape when testing a new blend?
um, honestly, I go through 3 different pipes.
Okay.
I test with a mirror first. I think a mirror gives me a nice clean flavor. Um, I will test in a cob. Cobs change flavors. I don't. I know people. To me, I can't say that it does it for everybody else, but to me, a cob has a way of changing a flavor on how it burns and how it tastes. Briar, I think is pretty neutral, um, but it will give you an idea how it burns in the pipe. Um, and when I do briar, I will do a straight stem and then I will do a bent stem because every pipe has different characteristics and how it burns, how it cools, what it gets to when it gets to your mouth. What is the flavor then? Because you run it through a church warden, that smoke is cooled considerably, and that flavor has changed a little bit. You're running it through a little nose warmer, that flavor is coming in hot, and it's going to be more pronounced in certain things. So uh, normally with a mirror, I get the cleanest flavor and the cleanest idea of what my blend's going to be like, but I still try to test it in a cob and in briars as well.
Okay. All right. So we did one. Um, so talking about rustica, he said, I guess rustica is a different kind of drug. He said it goes well with other things too. Um, but they're calling rustica like a grandfather in native cultures. So that's you ever heard of that?
I think they called it grandfather's leaf or something like that. Um,
Okay.
I know that it was used especially in medicine bags and different types of rituals.
Really?
Native Americans, um, they would. I did read somewhere when they would do their sweat lodge. Um, some of the leaves would go on the fire, so
Oh, wow.
you'd get that nicotine rush. Sweat
Right.
lodge. So I know tobacco was a really big thing in Native cultures, and I'm not Native American, never going to claim to be Native American, at least that I know of. But I think it's really cool if we can celebrate some of the things that are parts of the pipe community that people don't realize. Most tobacco started as rustica, native natural tobacco that was
Mm.
bred through different types of growing processes into other things.
Okay. So it's basically you're saying the Native Americans were sitting there teepees hot boxing with some rustica. That-
You know what?
that
Probably so.
was- um, and so, all right. So, kind of talking to so next section of the tricks of the trade. So you saying so you buy a whole leaf, and your process to get it from whole leaf down. I'll just say, when we went to the Briary a few months back, they actually just gotten some. It may have been Bosma. It may have been I can't remember. But they had one guy sitting there. He'd take 4 or 5 leaves, and he had the scissors that cut 5 blades at a time, and was sitting there literally just cutting the leaf because they didn't have any better equipment. So, what is your process? How do you cut the leaves up?
Um, well, I did have an electric cutter. I did
Okay.
that, so um, that was a huge time saver. But I'm not going to invest in one right now because I'm actually looking for one that, and it did shag cut. So I like shag cut for certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but for an overall blend, it's not really what I'm looking for. Um, I do have a manual cutter that's also a shag cut, so if I need that shag cut, I can still do it. But honestly, those 5 bladed scissors, herb shears,
Yeah.
I have
Yep.
4 or 5 different pairs of those, and what I use, I get my leaf to where I want it through the processing, cleaning, and de-ribbing, and all that stuff, and then I'll get a couple of them together and then just start cutting. So after about an hour or so, I've got to put band-aids on my knuckles because I'll start wearing it away.
Wow.
I'll do that till my hands hurt, and then I'll stop and rest a day, and then come back and start all over again.
Wow. Okay. um, so now, when you're making these blends, what would you say is like a secret weapon component that you think is maybe currently really undervalued? You may sneak into a blend and really beef it up.
Well, I do that with Rustica, so I think
That's-
I hate to I sound like a broken record, but in regards to that, also there's some interesting Oriental leaf out there.
Okay.
Some of it isn't like Basma or Izmir and things like that. There's some Oriental cigar leaf that really has some cool qualities to it, flavor wise. Um,
Okay.
if you were to leave it as is, you would get some of those cigar notes from it, but you get some earthy kind of spicy tastes out of it that you don't normally get with some of the regular like cigar leaf stuff.
Mhm.
I've been kind of experimenting with a couple of those to see how they work in some blends. So, I think that there's some stuff out there that mainstream U.S. pipe smokers aren't really using that are being used out in like Indonesia and things like that that can really be something else that we might want to look at introducing more and more into some of the blends here in the U.S.
Okay. So, are there any blends that you started that you're like, this is terrible, and
Oh
just threw it away, ditched it altogether?
yeah, uh, there's been 3 or 4 of them and I felt horrible because that was about 3 pounds of tobacco that just went.
Oh my God. Ugh, three
I
pounds.
I normally my batches are normally about 3 pounds.
Okay.
Uh, depending on Cajun coffee, since I know that one really well, that one I can bump up to a 6 pound batch when I make it. But you know, my experimental batch is usually about 3 pounds. I think that's a good. It gives me a good idea of ratios, especially when I start trying to make that a bigger blend. If
Hmm.
that's going to work for a bigger blend, so
Okay.
with 3 pounds, give or take. Um, I've had
So,
one blend that within the span of 2 days, I had cut, mixed, thought it was good, and I have a tendency to I vacuum seal my blends and let them
okay.
melt before I break
Okay.
them back up and pack.
Hmm.
Well, I did one and I wanted to. I put it in a huge bell jar. Well, like a ball jar, but it was one of the big ones. And I put it in there instead of vacuum sealing it, and within 2 days it was full of mold. And the jar had been cleaned with 2 different types of alcohol, sanitizer, because I bought that sanitizer you're supposed to use when you're gonna make mead and all that stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, I cleaned this thing. Maybe there was something on a leaf that I missed, and that's the drawback I think with using whole leaf and not adding a lot of humectants and things like propyl glycol and some of those other ones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the major uh, tobacco producers use to keep their stuff fresh. Um, those things, it happens. I did one blend where, I don't get me wrong, if you like a chocolate blend, more power to you. I'm not a chocolate blend, but I was trying to make one. Keyword trying. That
Okay.
a bitter mess, and
Really?
one went all bye bye.
So what was, I mean, so that first real failed blend, did you ever revisit and try again, or you just ditched it
No,
altogether?
I mean, I still have the recipe in my book,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. I wanted to make sure I was away from it for a good period of time before I went back and looked at it. Um, Sometimes if I go back and look at a blend, I'll make the same mistake. If I give it a little time and I have smoked some other things in between, made some other things in between, I might come up with an idea that will help a failed blend. So there's about 3 or 4 of them that are just, the chocolate one, that one, I'm still not sure that one I can ever salvage that recipe for that one. I may have to come up with a completely different recipe, but that recipe is probably not going to work.
Gotcha. And I so someone commented that the talk about like your secret weapon in a blend said citric acid. So I guess your orange peels. Have you played around with that? Oh, not orange peels, but citric acid.
No, I have not used citric acid. I Acids can be good in a certain aspect that it'll take away some of the bite sometimes from some of the blends, but I'm not strong enough in my scientific abilities to be able to do that. um,
Gotcha.
Something I haven't really experimented with yet is using stuff like that.
Okay. And also they said maybe next time for chocolate, a cocoa nib.
And cocoa nibs. I was looking at something like that. I was looking at actually trying to that the Cavendish experiment that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
That's that could have ramifications on a couple of different blends, like that chocolate blend. Because if I were to Cavendish it with the cocoa nibs, that might give me that chocolate flavor that I might want to look for later. Um,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm like I said, it's happens. I can't explain it sometimes.
You're good. So now I have one more question here from the comments. We'll jump back into it. What is your favorite casing for a whole leaf? Inverted sugar?
If I'm going to case, and I really don't do a lot of casing, I
Mhm.
try to keep the leaf as natural as possible. Um, but if I am going to case, what I normally use is organic agave syrup. Uh, I will thin it out with some distilled water and do a light misting with that. But I don't. Well, I feel sometimes with casings, it changes the natural flavor of the leaf, and it's just not something I don't feel comfortable doing that because I'm trying to stay as close to the natural flavor of the leaf as possible. Uh,
Okay.
Now toppings are a little different because toppings will change it, but I really try not to case things too much. I try to find another leaf or another component that's going to give me that same result without having to case
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot of room, and with 3 pounds, some guys, they'll case and then they'll put it in the oven and all that other stuff. I don't have a whole lot of space to do these things, and for me, I have a toaster oven that I use if I need to use it for anything. And 3 pounds doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you start trying to, toast a pound of burley in a toaster oven, It's time consuming.
Yeah, I bet. So let's kind of get into some of your personal thoughts here. Let's get, the top secret thoughts from Patrick. If you had unlimited access to any leaf, what would you make tomorrow?
Probably a big batch of Cajun coffee.
Really?
That one goes over really well, and it'd be a toss up between maybe Catahoula's blend and maybe Pawpaw's blend. Pawpaw's blend was a different one for me because that was my ode to a codger blend, and it had some 12-year-old Scotch in it. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think Pawpaw's blend was pretty cool. But now, if it was just to be able to experiment, who knows what I'd come up with if I had. I would be playing with all kinds of stuff then.
Well, let's go into an opinion question here. Let's go with kind of the unpopular opinion. What is we'll call it a rule of pipe smoking, like, don't inhale or always dry your tobacco for an hour before you smoke it. So what is one of these rules you think is just total nonsense?
Damn near all of them.
Okay.
Pipe smoking is a personal experience. Don't inhale. I inhale. Granted, I don't do the full inhale, but I will take part of what I have puffed in and inhale. I come from a cigarette background. I come from a cigar background where I did inhale. So don't inhale. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it. I may end up coughing because I misjudge, but I'm going to, only smoke certain blends and certain pipes. Smoke what you want in what you want. It's your pipe. It's your blend. Do what makes you feel comfortable because this is ultimately it's your experience. Do what you like to do to enjoy it. I'm not, if you want to, take flake, for example, and roll it up and turn it sideways and then put it upside down in something because that's what you were told to do. Why? How do you want to smoke it? Well, I just want to put it in the pipe. Just put it in the pipe. No. I really think some of those rules and things were made to keep normal people from smoking pipes.
Okay. Interesting take.
Pipe smoking you start looking at some of the research and stuff. Some of these guys, pipe smoking was an egalitarian thing for a while. And then it filtered down, farmers and all that stuff. The rules always came from the egalitarian side. You farmer out plowing his field, he doesn't care about the rules. He put what he wants in his pipe and smoke it. That's what I think we should be. I'm not worried about the rules. Don't smoke this one fast. This one you've got to dry for an hour. If you want to go through 17 relights, so be it. If you don't have time to sit and let it dry for an hour, I'm that person. I don't have time to let tobacco sit and dry for an hour. That means I got to relight it 16 times. So be it. Just got it. It's either that or I'm going to get frustrated and put it down and come back to it later. But yeah, I really think a lot of those rules are overrated. And just, I don't think especially with today's more blue collar people smoking pipes, because, normal average guys that are smoking pipes now, there's a lot more of us than people realize. And, we're not the guys that sitting, suit and ties in a boardroom trying to figure out how to screw people out of their money. We're not those guys. We're the guys that, go to work 16 hours a day and then come home and I just want to relax.
Yeah.
So, most of the rules are pretty much just overrated altogether. I think they don't need to be followed. If you're doing what you love to do, then you keep doing it.
Actually, so now, last one here for your personal thoughts. What do you think makes a blend memorable instead of just good?
Honestly, I think again, it's back to that personal experience thing, you know. And I wish I could remember, but there was a friend of my dad's, and he smoked a pipe, and granted, it was aromatic tobacco, but he had this beautiful, you know, vase looking jar for his tobacco. It was like one of those, you Dutch vases, the white with the blue on it. Beautiful Dutch. And he would open it up and he would take his little pinch and he would load his pipe. But as soon as he opened it up, that room just had this aroma. And I tie that to being around friends and family. So if I come across an aroma like that, it's a memory that gets tied. Now, any tobacco can be tied to a memory, and I think that's usually what makes it memorable. Is it something like, I remember I was doing this when I smoked this blend, and every time I smoke this blend, now I think of that, or it brings back a memory of this. That's what makes a blend memorable. Now, in regards to just what makes a blend something that you really, really want, again, that's personal choices. Because I had people that didn't like Swamp Fairy. I had people that didn't like um, Trinity blend. They thought something was they just didn't care for it. But that was their personal. No, they said it's a good blend. It's just not what I like, which I accept that. That just, I have popped tins on stuff and went, oh no, this ain't for me. Just it's not for me. And then
Yeah.
hey, I want this because I'm not gonna smoke it, or I mean put it away and go back to it because tastes change, tobaccos change, they age differently and things like that. So I was a big aromatic smoker when I started again with pipes, and then I got to the point where I was like, I did not touch an aromatic for a year or two. I couldn't. It was just overpowering too much to me. Now I'm dabbling back into aromatics a little bit, just because I want to kind of broaden how I'm doing my blends. So,
Yeah.
eh, that's the reason I get back into it. But, what makes it memorable? Just what you think about, what it reminds you of, what good memories it brings back to you. So it's a personal thing.
Okay. What are your thoughts on fire cured tobacco?
I like it.
Okay.
I think it gives a nice smoky note to leaf. You get into like a dark fired Kentucky,
Mhm.
that's a good leaf. Just get some of that, load a pipe with just that. That's a nice, heavy, good, smoky pipe. You know,
Yeah.
and that's a component in my Cajun coffee, dark fired Kentucky, which sounds weird in a coffee blend, but
It
it works.
works. Right. And we had one more comment here about it said the like kind of agreeing with it. The guide is the past that leads you to the future. So yeah, that's all these pipe rules and stuff. It's what the old guys did. Why are we making up all these new rules we have to follow when that's not what has always been done? So I kind of like that.
I mean, do what makes you feel comfortable.
Mhm.
I had a great uncle that smoked a pipe. Never used a tamper in his life. The end of his finger was dark brown, but he had never
I,
used.
I bet.
So that's how you want to tamp your pipe. You go right ahead. My fingers are a little too,
Right.
you know. I'm going to stick with a tamper for right now because I don't want to burn the end of my finger off. That's how he was. I mean, he had calluses
Yeah.
arms and didn't bother him.
All right. So a few parting shots here, a couple parting shots. What's next for you? You said you're working on a blend with some orange peels. But what is? I mean, that blend's coming up soon. You give us a little more hint about that one, or any other blends you're working on. So sweet tea, you didn't mention that one. What else you got? Oh,
Nothing yet. I haven't had an idea for anything yet. That's why I threw it out to my followers and said, hey,
mhm.
give me some ideas. And Chris Murphy was the one who said sweet tea. So I was like, okay, you know what? And I had some other good ones in there. One was to make a Sazerac blend. And I'm not familiar with Sazerac, so I don't know how that one would work. I really don't feel
What?
like a bottle.
So just get you a bottle and just drink it until you get an idea, I guess, and buy another one.
Yeah, but that's a bad thing, man. Because I'll try to drink it all night. That's one reason why I don't drink too much anymore, because I had a problem stopping.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
Um,
Um, and had a one more rule here is pipe rotation. That's a rule we should all follow. Is that pipe rotation is turning your pipe upside down so you can smoke it in the shower. It's a great pipe rotation.
I don't believe in pipe rotation. Um, no, I will say this. If I'm smoking a pipe and and I have a tendency to smoke fast. That's just me, and I can feel the briar warm. Yeah, I won't smoke that one. Maybe for a couple hours, just to let it cool off. But as for a rotation on pipes, I have over 100 pipes.
Wow.
I am. I'm lucky if I grab the same 2 pipes. And I have a couple of them in my office at work that, if I have extended time for a lunch break, I'll go outside and I'll load a half bowl and smoke during my lunch break.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't have. I have more pipes than I know what to do with. Rotate them. I just grab whatever's right there in front most of the time, and then I remember, oh wait, I got this one in the back here. Let me drag it out. And sometimes I'll stand there for 45 minutes before I'm trying to figure out which pipe I'm going to smoke. And my wife will look at me. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to find a pipe." She goes, "What's wrong with the ones in front of you?" That's that's not the ones I want.
I just smoked them. I need a new one. Someone's asking a hint about sweet tea. Is it going to have some bright Virginias in it?
I am okay. So I'll do this. Um, Tentative for right now is bright Virginia, burley, a little bit of Perique,
Okay.
Cavendish. I haven't decided on black or red yet. I am going to put a little bit of Oriental leaf in there just to kind of give it that tea spice, not spiced tea, but that flavor. Um, I just don't know ratios yet, and I'm not sure quite where it's going to go because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to use as the sweet base for it yet. Do I want to use honey? Do I want to use agave? I like the idea of honey, but honey can burn really hot, and it can change the flavor of things. Um, so there's still quite a bit of play in this blend. I may have kind of jumped the gun throwing it out there this early because I'm still trying, like I said, I'm in the mad scientist phase of it.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate just getting a sneak peek. Had one last question here. Maybe not Sazerac route, but what about some sassafras?
I was actually thinking about that because as a kid, I remember having some sassafras sodas and stuff like that. While it's similar to root beer, it's a little different flavor wise. And being Cajun and stuff, I use filet, which is ground sassafras root, in certain recipes and stuff. So I'm familiar with the flavor. I'm familiar with what it tasted like as a soda. I have still got that in the back of my mind as a possible blend coming up. So I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Well, very cool. I have 10 rapid fire questions for you.
Okay,
Yeah, I did not give you ahead of time. Are you ready?
go ahead.
All right, here we go. Just first thought comes to your mind, just quick off the cuff here. Whiskey or black coffee?
Black coffee,
Ooh, okay. Early morning or late night?
early morning,
Okay. Favorite way to waste an hour?
reading
Ooh, you read anything good right now?
my Bible.
Oh, that's a good one. Good pick. Solid pick.
I honestly, mostly I read science fiction, fantasy kind of stuff, and Bible brings me back, grounds me a little bit more. Um, but I'm in between novels right now, so it's back to Book of Job is what I'm in right now. So
Okay. Very nice. Um, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
firefighter.
Oh, good picking. I did that for 9 years. I don't know if you knew that or
Well,
not.
um,
I mean, because all cops want to be real heroes, so you want to be
well,
firemen. I get it.
I was a cop for almost 30 years. I was an EMT for 10 years.
Okay.
So might as well do the trifecta.
Yeah, might as well round it out. Exactly. If you could master one skill instantly, what would it be?
Pipe making.
I think you are doing a pretty good job of that.
I do a pretty good job, and
Okay.
I'm able to mutter through. But if I could master it, it would be great. Other than
Okay.
that, maybe roll cigars.
Oh, okay. Okay, I like it. Jazz or classic rock?
Classic rock. But I will say this: there's a caveat.
Okay.
Depending on my mood, New Orleans jazz.
Ooh, okay. I had my first taste. I was on Bourbon Street about a year and a half ago, and there's some bar down there. It's like Winsel's or something, but it's like the very end of Bourbon Street. It's just a live jazz bar. I fell in love with jazz just walking into a jazz bar. This is fantastic. Good
Pres-
solid choice.
Preservation Hall, when they've got guys in there playing, that's a good place to go.
Yeah. All right. What do you notice first on a new tin? Name or artwork?
I lean toward artwork actually, because I really enjoy making my labels. I I had a chance to do some. I had a chance to stay in high school for another year if I would have gone through an art program, and I decided I wanted to graduate first. And I probably should have stayed with the art program. I may have been making money now instead of doing what I'm doing. But I I'm drawn to artwork, so
Okay. What's a tool that you can't live without? Either I mean in the shop or in life, anything. What's a tool you just can't live without?
pocket knife. Always have.
Last bowl of the night. Would you like a bowl quiet and alone or around good company?
It depends on my mood. I mean, quiet and alone is good sometimes just to reflect. But if I'm sitting around with a bunch of friends, good company will be just as welcome.
All right, last one. When it's all said and done, and you're hanging your hat up, WhoDat is done. You're closing shop. What do you hope people remember about your work?
I don't know. I don't really care if they remember about my work. All I care is if they remember that I tried to be as honest in how I dealt with them as possible. Um, I, I'm trying not to screw anybody over. I try to give people credit where credit is due. Like I said, Cloud Bear Custom Blends, even Appalachian Customs. They've been great for giving me tips on that, on blending stuff. There's a bunch of new blenders coming out now, and I think that's awesome. And I will share whatever I can with them because when I came in, it was people were very closed mouth. That didn't want to share things. Pipe makers, other pipe makers, didn't want to share tips and things like that. I was able to talk to some pipe makers who were like, "Yeah, no, try this and see what." You know, I think as a community we would do better that way, and I hope that when I finally do hang it up, people will say, "You know what? I think he was able to add to the community a little bit, even if it's just a little bit."
That's awesome. All right, last question I have for you here. Well, I guess really two-part question here. So at the end of every show, I always ask a question from the last guest that they provided me. So this question comes from um, Matt Hatter, and he says, "What made you decide to not only make pipes but start blending tobacco as well?"
I just kind of thought it was a natural evolution. Um, I like the creative process. I like being able to go, maybe I can do this. And I guess that's why I'm drawn to artwork and stuff. I think the creative process is what makes it fun, and the challenge of it. Uh, that's probably why I made that jump.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now the true last question, part two here. Next month, I'm going to have Big John from Nile of Nine will be coming on the show. So, what is one question you would like me to ask him?
Um, what was your experience dealing with other blenders if you asked for help? Was there
Okay.
someone who mentored him? Um, did he find that people were willing to help him as well, or were they more, some of them were stand. I've had people, like I said, that were standoffish with me. They didn't want to share anything. So I'm curious to see if he was able to get any help from the community or not.
Okay. And so normally I would just say, all right, well, then go ahead and answer the question yourself, but you kind of really already touched on it. A lot of help from Cloud Bear, Appalachian Custom kind of really been a big influence helping you out.
And Mad Hatters, Dan from Reaver Pipes, Pipes and Tobacco, and I've talked to a bunch of other blenders, and if we have questions, we're willing to reach out to each other and say, hey, what would you do for something like this? Um, John Harrison. These guys are great. These guys are putting out phenomenal products. Uh, they really care about what they're putting out. I think that's what makes them. Oh, I should say us, but that's what makes them better than the big stuff. I'm sure Jeremy Reeves at C&D really cares about his products. I'm sure he does, but it's a big company now. It's not the mom and pop stuff. It's not like you're blending for your local B&M and you know who your customer base is. And I think that's one reason why us as small time blenders or small batch blenders are really getting a bigger following, is because we take our time with some of these blends. We don't really rush them. We listen to what our customers like. I mean, hell, I reach out to them. You got any ideas? Give me some feedback. So I think that's one reason why we have been doing as well as we have. I'm not saying we're ever going to steal a majority of sales away from Cornell and Dio, or actually Smoking Pipes, who owns them now, but it's just, I think for the community, I think we offer a nice niche for the ability to get different types of tobacco.
That's awesome. Well, Patrick, I really appreciate everything. This has been a lot of fun having a chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody that's still here. I appreciate you guys joining in, tuning in with us. Thanks for all the comments. But with that, Patrick, thank you. And everybody, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you all next month. See you.
Good night, everybody.